Good morning, everyone, from Prospect Park in Brooklyn. And for those of you who don't know, this is part of a Generative AI Tour of the United States by train. And this is one of my stops, one of my final stops. And every time I think about quitting this journey, something reminds me of why I'm doing this. And that just hit me about 20 minutes ago, and I wanted to share it with you. And so the idea is that this isn't just, a skills training. This isn't just teaching people about generative AI and how to use these tech tools. In fact, what it is, and I haven't talked about this in quite a while, not since the beginning when ChatGPT first came out, and I realized that it reminded me of something. It reminded me of something Dan Pink wrote in about 2005 in a book called Whole New Mind, where he talked about there would be a time in the future when it would be important to be a generalist, not a specialist, but a generalist, and maybe a creative generalist. And around that time I was realizing, hey, that's a term I'm going to start using, but I bet there's others too who don't want to specialize, but they see how all the different parts come together. So for example, like let's say you studied music, you're also maybe into fitness and the outdoors, you're into research and science, or some type of craftsmanship or building things with your hands. You don't want to let go of any of those things. In fact, you want to find a way to incorporate everything you know how to do. But society is still kind of geared towards having you make a decision so you can make a living doing this one thing. Well, the message I'm trying to make to people is that we're in a different time because of generative AI, and that it's using natural language as opposed to coding. You can be as creative as you want to be when you write your prompts. You can have as many questions as you can dream up. You can be curious and just keep going and see where this leads to. So in the early days of generative AI, going back a year and a half, maybe 2 years, I just started building, not knowing if I should be doing this or if it's going to be profitable at all, but mainly because it was possible. I'm talking about doing things like, there was this one app idea I came up with called the 10x Deep Learning Tool, where the first question leads to a second deeper question, which leads to a third deeper question. And the whole thing was based on what I had just learned about pixelation, that when you focus on an image and you zoom in on it, you're not seeing the actual thing, but what you're seeing are color codes that are just kind of filled in to match the surrounding areas. And I thought, well, what if questions were like this, where you just kept drilling deeper, but you didn't lose any clarity. In fact, you gained more clarity. And then you just kept going deeper and deeper until you got to the bottom of what something meant. Well, this is all possible with generative AI. You can load a data set of photosynthesis or the evaporation system and say, create a startup or a business model or an economic system that's built on the same theories or ideas. Or you could load, let's say, 10 data sets of some of the best cancer research in the world and just start asking questions. So once you convert it to JSON format, you could start asking questions such as, what are some common themes? What are some shared discoveries? Are there any commonalities? What are the major differences? Are there any standout observations? That's all possible, and that, I think, requires a generalist and not a specialist. So the workshop I'm putting together is going to be like this. It at times will not seem like a technical seminar, but it'll be a series of thinking exercises to create a certain mind shift that I think is required for generative AI. so that you can see the possibilities, to not feel limited, but feel empowered, and to not be so fearful, and to dive in with your curiosity. For example, meta prompts, prompting to create other prompts. Think how many of these you could come up with if you just made a list of every obstacle that you were trying to solve for, every process, every system you were trying to understand or improve, and you just had ChatGPT or other LLM create the prompt. You don't even have to write the prompt. It will write it. All you have to do is be imaginative enough to just ask. And so turn this around to say hi, and I look forward to getting your questions and seeing many of you in person.